Imagine if the image of Jesus you've always known is not what he truly looked like. For centuries, Western art has depicted Jesus with European features, fair skin, light hair, and blue eyes. But what if these portrayals are historically inaccurate? In reality, Jesus was a Middle Eastern Jew from Galilee, likely possessing the darker skin, hair, and eyes characteristic of that region. Early Christian art from Africa, such as Nubian paintings, often depicted Jesus with African features, reflecting the diverse cultural perceptions of his image. Over time, colonial influences reshaped Jesus' image to align with European ideals, distancing him from his true ethnic roots. In this video, we'll uncover the African roots of Jesus, exploring historical evidence and cultural representations that challenge conventional narratives. Stay with us as we journey through history and faith, revealing a more inclusive and authentic portrayal of Jesus that resonates with diverse communities today. Before we delve deeper, consider subscribing to our channel for more insightful explorations into history and theology. Now, prepare to discover a perspective on Jesus' identity that may transform your understanding of his life and legacy. Imagine standing in Roman Judea over 2,000 years ago, a land bustling with life and activity, perched at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe. This was no isolated, homogeneous region. It was a vibrant melting pot of cultures, ideas, and peoples. Here, in this fascinating cultural confluence, the story of Jesus began. Picture a marketplace in ancient Judea. Merchants from far-off lands gather, their stalls brimming with exotic goods, spices from India, silks from China, and precious metals from Africa. The air is filled with the sounds of different languages, the scent of diverse cuisines, and the hum of people exchanging not just goods, but stories and beliefs. This was the world into which Jesus was born, a world rich with cultural exchange and influence. Now let's focus on the people of this region. The inhabitants were a mix of ethnicities: Jews, Samaritans, Romans, Greeks, and even African traders. They lived together, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict, but always influencing one another. This blending of cultures is crucial to understanding the historical Jesus, a man who would have been shaped by the diverse environment around him. Jesus' teachings reflect this diversity. His parables often used imagery familiar to the mixed populations of the region: shepherds, farmers, and fishermen. His messages of love, compassion, and justice transcended cultural boundaries, resonating with people from various backgrounds. He spoke to a universal human experience, deeply rooted in the specific, diverse world of Roman Judea. But here's where things get even more intriguing. This region, situated at the junction of 3 continents, wasn't just a physical crossroads. It was a spiritual one, too. Religious ideas from across the known world mingled here. Judaism, with its deep roots and rich traditions, interacted with Greco-Roman philosophies, Eastern mysticism, and African spiritual practices. Jesus' teachings, while deeply Jewish, also echoed broader themes that might have been influenced by this spiritual mosaic. Consider the implications of this. The image of Jesus as a man shaped solely by Jewish culture is incomplete. He was a product of a complex, interconnected world, one that mirrored the diversity of humanity itself. This broader understanding of Jesus challenges us to rethink not only his identity, but also the message he brought, a message intended for all people, across all boundaries. As we explore further, we'll uncover more about how this diverse cultural setting influenced the early followers of Jesus and shaped the spread of Christianity. What happened next will reveal a deeper, more inclusive understanding of Jesus' mission and identity. But before we move on, have you ever wondered how this rich cultural background affected the way Jesus was remembered and depicted in the centuries that followed? Stay with us, because you're about to discover the fascinating journey of Jesus' image through early Christian art, showing how his diverse roots were celebrated and then, later, obscured. If you're finding these insights enlightening, make sure to subscribe to our channel. By joining us, you'll be part of a community that seeks to uncover deeper truths and challenge conventional narratives. Make sure you watch this video to the end, as we are about to dive into the early depictions of Jesus and discover a portrayal that might surprise you. Have you ever wondered why Jesus' family fled to Egypt after his birth? It's a part of the story often mentioned, but rarely explored in depth. What if those formative years in Egypt shaped more than just his survival? What if they influenced his teachings, his identity, and his mission? Let's start with a bold thought. Jesus, the central figure of Christianity, spent his early childhood immersed in African culture. This isn't just a historical footnote. It's a profound aspect of his life that often gets overlooked. As his family sought refuge from King Herod's wrath, they didn't just hide in Egypt. They lived, breathed, and absorbed the richness of its ancient civilization. Imagine young Jesus walking the bustling streets of an Egyptian town. The sights and sounds of ancient African life would have surrounded him. Majestic temples, intricate hieroglyphics, the aroma of local markets, and the hum of daily prayers to gods of old. Egypt, with its deep spiritual roots and advanced civilization, offered a unique backdrop for his early development. But Egypt was more than just a physical refuge. It was a land with a profound spiritual heritage. The Egyptians had a rich tradition of theology and spirituality, with ideas that would have resonated deeply in a young, impressionable mind. Concepts like the afterlife, divine justice, and the interconnectedness of all life were part of the cultural fabric Jesus would have encountered. Now think about this. The early years of any child are crucial for shaping their worldview. For Jesus, these years were spent in a land that had been a cradle of civilization for millennia. It's not hard to imagine that the values and beliefs he encountered in Egypt, values of compassion, justice, and a deep sense of the divine, played a role in shaping his teachings later in life. But here's the intriguing part. When Jesus returned to Judea, he brought with him not just the memories of Egypt, but perhaps a broader, more inclusive perspective on faith and humanity. His message was one of love and unity, transcending boundaries of race, culture, and class. A message that might have been enriched by the diverse experiences of his early life in Africa. As we delve deeper into this chapter, we'll explore how these early influences in Egypt left an indelible mark on Jesus' ministry. We'll uncover connections that suggest his time in Africa wasn't just a period of hiding, but a significant chapter that shaped his understanding of the world. Before we move forward, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you won't miss out on these eye-opening explorations into the life of Jesus and the profound truths hidden within his story. And now, as we transition to the next question, how did the depiction of Jesus evolve once he returned from Egypt? What cultural influences remained, and how did they manifest in early Christian art? Stay tuned, because the answers will challenge everything you thought you knew about his image. Have you ever stopped to question why the image of Jesus that dominates today's art and media is so uniform? Fair skin, flowing light hair, and delicate features. But what if I told you this was a relatively modern invention? What if the earliest depictions of Jesus told a very different story? Let's journey back to the first few centuries after Jesus' life. A time when the Christian faith was spreading across continents, from the Middle East to Africa and beyond. In these early days, artists in places like Egypt, Nubia, and Ethiopia depicted Jesus in ways that reflected their own communities. These images stand in stark contrast to the European portrayals we're so familiar with today. Imagine stepping into an ancient African church. On the walls, you see vibrant frescoes and intricate carvings. But the figure of Jesus looks different from the images you've grown up with. His features are distinctly African: dark skin, curly hair, and broader features. These depictions weren't merely artistic choices. They were reflections of a Jesus who was relatable and familiar to the people who worshipped him. In Ethiopia, one of the oldest Christian nations, ancient icons portray Jesus with features that resonate deeply with the local population. These artworks were not just religious symbols. They were powerful affirmations of Jesus' universality, embodying the belief that he belonged to all people, regardless of their ethnicity or skin color. This early art tells us something profound. Jesus' image was not static. It evolved, adapting to the cultures and communities that embraced his teachings. The African representations of Jesus remind us that faith transcends borders and that the divine can be seen through the lens of every culture. But something changed. As Christianity spread to Europe, the portrayal of Jesus began to shift. The diverse images of Jesus from Africa were gradually replaced by the European ideal, a transformation influenced by politics, power, and colonial agendas. Now, here's where it gets even more intriguing. These early African depictions of Jesus not only challenge our visual understanding, but also our theological one. They remind us of a Jesus who is deeply connected to the oppressed and the marginalized, a Savior who transcends racial and cultural boundaries. Before we explore how and why this transformation happened, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you'll stay connected as we uncover more about the historical and spiritual truths that reshape our understanding of Jesus. As we move forward, we'll dive into the forces that reshaped Jesus' image during the colonial era. How did this shift impact the global Christian community, and what lessons can we learn today? Stay tuned because I'm about to reveal to you the powerful and sometimes troubling history of how Jesus' image was co-opted and transformed. What if I told you the image of Jesus many of us grew up with? The serene, pale-skinned figure with flowing hair was not just a matter of artistic interpretation, but a powerful tool of colonial influence. It's a thought that may unsettle you, but it's one we need to confront. The story of Jesus' image is not just a tale of religious devotion, but one deeply entwined with the politics of power and control. Before colonial powers spread across the globe, Jesus was depicted in a multitude of ways, dark-skinned in Ethiopia, with African features in Nubia, and resembling the locals in every land where Christianity took root. These depictions reflected the universal nature of Jesus, a figure who belonged to everyone, everywhere. But as European colonial powers expanded their reach, they brought not just their armies and trade, but their version of Christianity, a version with a distinctly European Jesus. This transformation was no coincidence. A white Jesus served as a symbol of European superiority, a tool to justify colonial rule and impose cultural dominance. It was a subtle yet powerful way to suggest that divinity itself looked European, aligning the sacred with the colonizers. The impact of this shift was profound and far-reaching. In colonized nations, the indigenous depictions of Jesus were suppressed, replaced by images that mirrored the colonizers. The spiritual icon that once resembled the local population now looked foreign, distant, and, by implication, superior. This wasn't just about art. It was about shaping identities and reinforcing the power structures of colonial rule. Even today, the echoes of this transformation linger. The image of a white Jesus remains deeply embedded in many Christian communities around the world, a legacy of colonialism that continues to shape perceptions of faith and identity. But here's the crucial question. What happens when we reclaim the original, diverse depictions of Jesus? How does it change our understanding of him and our connection to faith? As we explore the next chapter, we'll see how communities are rediscovering these lost images and using them to challenge the lingering effects of colonialism. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll stay connected as we continue to uncover the rich, complex history of Jesus' image and its impact on our world today. And here's a thought to ponder. What does it mean for our spiritual lives when we realize that Jesus' image was shaped not by divine revelation, but by human agendas? Stay with us, because the answers will challenge everything you thought you knew about faith and identity. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share this insight with loved ones. Have you ever wondered how the image of Jesus can inspire not just personal faith, but collective liberation? What if reclaiming Jesus' African roots could be a powerful act of resistance against systemic injustice? Welcome to the world of liberation theology, where faith becomes a catalyst for social change. Liberation theology emerged as a response to oppression, particularly in Latin America and Africa, where colonialism, poverty, and inequality left deep scars. This movement reimagines Jesus not as a distant, otherworldly figure, but as a revolutionary leader who stands with the oppressed. And it draws heavily from the understanding of Jesus' African identity, a portrayal that aligns him with those who have been marginalized and silenced throughout history. Picture this: a congregation gathered in an African village, singing hymns that echo both the ancient and the contemporary. These communities see Jesus not as a symbol of colonial power, but as one of their own, a savior who understands their struggles and fights for their liberation. This reclaimed image of Jesus inspires hope and action, empowering people to challenge the structures that perpetuate injustice. Liberation theology teaches that Jesus' mission was inherently political. He didn't merely preach love and compassion, he actively confronted the social and political systems of his time. By recognizing Jesus' African roots, liberation theology reconnects with this radical message, emphasizing that faith is not just about personal salvation, but about transforming society. This movement has fueled some of the most powerful social justice campaigns in recent history. From the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa to the civil rights movement in the United States, the image of a Jesus who stands with the oppressed has inspired countless acts of courage and resistance. It's a reminder that faith, when rooted in justice, has the power to reshape the world. But the journey doesn't stop here. What happens when this reclaimed image of Jesus challenges not only the world's injustices, but also the church itself? How does it reshape the way we understand theology, community, and the very nature of God? Before we explore these transformative questions, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue this journey of discovery, uncovering the hidden truths of our faith and their profound implications for our lives today. What if the Jesus you've been taught to worship is only half the story? What if rediscovering his true identity could unlock a new understanding of your own faith and purpose? Stay tuned, because the revelations to come will change the way you see everything. What if embracing Jesus' diverse heritage could revolutionize our understanding of faith itself? How might this broader perspective challenge traditional doctrines and reshape the spiritual landscape of modern communities? When we acknowledge Jesus' African roots and the cultural mosaic of his identity, we're invited into a richer, more inclusive theology, one that celebrates diversity and fosters unity. This shift compels us to see Jesus not as belonging to any one culture or people, but as a universal figure whose message transcends borders and ethnicities. This revelation prompts us to ask critical questions about the nature of divinity. If Jesus' identity is a tapestry woven from various cultural threads, how does this influence our understanding of God? In this light, God is not distant or homogeneous, but intimately connected to the myriad experiences of humanity. This view challenges long-standing assumptions about who holds the authority to define religious truths and practices. For modern faith communities, this inclusive vision has profound implications. It invites us to dismantle barriers that have historically divided believers by race, culture, or class. In embracing the full spectrum of Jesus' heritage, Churches become spaces of radical welcome where everyone's story is seen as a vital part of the divine narrative. Imagine a worship service where the music, prayers, and teachings reflect a kaleidoscope of cultures, each contributing its unique voice to the chorus of faith. This is not just a celebration of diversity, but a testament to the belief that all people are equally valued in the eyes of God. Furthermore, this theological expansion encourages believers to engage more deeply with issues of social justice. If Jesus is understood as a figure who embodies the struggles and triumphs of all humanity, then our faith must be active in addressing the inequities and injustices that persist in the world today. It's a call to live out a faith that is compassionate, inclusive, and committed to transformative action. But here's where it gets even more compelling. How does this renewed understanding of Jesus influence our personal spiritual journeys? What new insights can we gain about our own lives, struggles, and purposes when we see ourselves reflected in the diverse heritage of Jesus? As we prepare to delve into these personal dimensions, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. This journey of exploration is far from over, and the next revelations promise to deepen your faith in unexpected and meaningful ways. What if the future of faith lies not in division, but in a beautiful tapestry of unity and diversity? Imagine a world where faith communities come together, not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Each culture, each tradition, contributing its unique color to a shared spiritual canvas. As we embrace the full spectrum of Jesus' heritage, we unlock a new vision of faith, one where the barriers of race, culture, and background dissolve into a celebration of our shared humanity. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on everything we've uncovered. We've reimagined Jesus not just as a historical figure, but as a symbol of unity, diversity, and transformative love. From his African roots to the profound implications for modern faith communities, we've explored how embracing a more inclusive vision of Jesus can reshape our understanding of faith and humanity. If this message has resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Join us as we continue to delve into stories that challenge, inspire, and transform.